I've gotten a lot of criticism for constantly talking about Ocasio-Cortez and trying to act like anything she does is, making a mountain out of a molehill. Here's the thing. She has like 4 million followers. She is very influential, and she's a representation of the identitarian left in the Democrats. I don't like Nancy Pelosi all that much because I think she's an elite multimillionaire who doesn't really represent American interests, and I'm curious how somebody on a salary of $174,000 a year is now worth, $100 million plus. Sure, I'm not going to disparage her simply because she's wealthy, but it's kind of weird, isn't it? We then get Ocasio-Cortez, who, look, at first I praised. And I actually do agree with some of her positions. I made a video strictly praising her when she said she was going to team up with Ted Cruz to end the lobbying pipeline. Spot on. Sounds great. I praised her for calling for the end of private prisons. And I agree with her 100%. Illegal immigrants in this country are still protected under the Fourth Amendment and have constitutional rights. It's a fact. It's true. But she says nonsense things. She is the worst advocate for environmentalism. She makes us all look bad. Look at this story from the Daily Wire. Ocasio-Cortez suggests Pelosi is targeting her because Pelosi is racist. Now, they're inferring that from something Ocasio-Cortez says, but I think it's a fair point to be made because Ocasio-Cortez makes the claim that Pelosi is targeting her and singling out women of color specifically. I do not believe that Nancy Pelosi is targeting Ocasio-Cortez because of her race. She's doing it because Ocasio-Cortez is ignorant, bombastic, divisive, and I'll say dangerous. Ocasio-Cortez repeatedly escalates her rhetoric and is encouraging division in this country. It's very dangerous. It's also divisive for the Democrats who want to win. So when Nancy Pelosi says we need to be united, we're a family, don't tweet, Ocasio-Cortez's response, basically, you're a bigot. Let's read a bit about the story, and then we'll carry on with the point I'm making. From the Daily Wire, they say Socialist Rep. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez attacked House Speaker Nancy Pelosi during multiple recent interviews, going as far as to say that she believes that Pelosi is targeting her because Pelosi is racist. I think sometimes people think that we have a relationship, Ocasio-Cortez told the New Yorker Radio Hour. Not particularly. The last time I kind of spoke to her one-on-one was when she asked me to join the Select Committee on Climate Change. I was assigned to some of the busiest committees and 4 subcommittees, so my hands are full. And sometimes I wonder if they're trying to keep me busy. Ocasio-Cortez suggested to the Washington Post on Wednesday that Pelosi was racist, saying, "When these comments first started, I kind of thought she was keeping the progressive flank at more of an arm's distance in order to protect more moderate members, which I understood. But the persistent singling out, it got to a point where it was just outright disrespectful. The explicit singling out of newly elected women of color." And there we can see the other shoe drop. Ocasio-Cortez actually implying that Nancy Pelosi is racist for calling her out. It's absurd to me that we have these arguments. The left claims that if you criticize anybody, you're a racist. And the Democrats and the Republicans do this too with Israel. You can absolutely criticize Israel without being an anti-Semite. There's an important distinction in what you're criticizing. So yes, Nancy Pelosi can tell Ocasio-Cortez, who has 4 million followers and tweets ridiculously bombastic things and routinely generates bad press like this, to chill out. It is not because of her race. Ocasio-Cortez, in my opinion, uses this as a cudgel. It's her way of saying, I'm going to strike back at Pelosi, knock her down with more progressives by accusing her of racism. Because it's victim of Olympics. Of course, Ocasio-Cortez has never done anything wrong, she says. And this is one of the worst things about her, and one of the things I think is so dangerous. Ocasio-Cortez refuses to ever acknowledge her faults. She is a dangerous egotist who purposefully makes divisive tweets to piss people off, to gain followers, to pass the buck. And when she's called out for saying her nonsensical things, what does she do? She doubles down or provides an excuse. For once in your life, Ocasio-Cortez, admit that you were wrong. Admit this is not why she's coming after you. Cortez said concentration camps and sparked a major national news story. It resulted in Holocaust museums speaking up denouncing her, Holocaust survivors. That is not the kind of press the Democrats need if they're going to beat Trump and the Republicans in the next year and following. But Ocasio-Cortez doesn't care. She's bombastic, egotistical, narcissistic. She said as much. She has tweets where she says things like, I'm the boss, I'm in charge, you're just yelling from the cheap seats. She is disruptive and destructive to the Democrats, and thus Nancy Pelosi criticizes her. So what does Ocasio-Cortez do? She pulls the card straight out of the regressive identitarian left playbook. You must be a racist. That's the only reason you'd really criticize me. Plain and simple. Let's read on. Pelosi has repeatedly mocked Ocasio-Cortez and the other 3 far-left freshman House Democrats, recently telling the New York Times, all these people have their public whatever and their Twitter world, but they didn't have any following. They're 4 people, and that's how many votes they got. And that's a cold wake-up call from Nancy Pelosi. Twitter is not real life. I'd be willing to bet a lot of people on the left, even some moderate Democrats, follow or know who Ocasio-Cortez is. But I'll tell you this. I was at a skate park recently, and while we were arguing some progressive issues, some people were further left than I was and some were further right. We all agreed Ocasio-Cortez kind of jumped the shark. But I was thinking about this the other day with all the smear pieces coming out, and I want to say something too. I grew up skateboarding. Skateboarders hate cops. I used to have a hat that said "Arrest me, I'm a skateboarder," making the point that cops often, would arrest, detain, and fine skateboarders. Skateboarders and cops don't get along. Now I get it. Skateboarders want to do tricks that can result in gradual property damage, and so the cops have to remove you. But skateboarders are anti-establishment. They don't like cops. They're urban. They tend to be urban and left-leaning. Something interesting happens. I'm getting hit up by pro skateboarders, sending me messages cheering me on, from rock stars cheering me on. I have a poster at my house autographed by a very famous rock star who cheers me on. And I started thinking about this. When you get skateboarders, and I know it might sound silly, but seriously, when skateboarders disagree with you, you've done something wrong left, okay? The skateboarders used to be the left. They were progressive, hippie, anarcho-punk. And now I've got pro skateboarders hitting me up being like, what's happening? Why are these people going crazy? You do good work. Come out and skate with us. I've been invited to different cities and countries, and it's crazy for me to see some of my childhood heroes reaching out saying, I love what you do, man. And I'm like, it's crazy. I remember being 14 watching that video. But these are people who used to oppose the system, who were on the left, now saying the left has gone nuts. And here we are. Ocasio-Cortez is an example of how they've gone nuts. Skateboarders at the park saying to my face, what is wrong with her? Nancy Pelosi trying to reel her in, and what does she do? You must be racist. Twitter is not real life. Nancy Pelosi is correct. They have a large number of Twitter followers. What's important is that we have a large number of votes on the floor of the House, Pelosi said in April. She said, while there are people who have a large number of Twitter followers. She's right. On Twitter, you have a fake narrative that no one cares about. And sure, this trickles into the mainstream media and fake news. But I think about this. All of these smears come out about me in the social media summit, lying about me, misframing what I'm saying, and trying to make me look bad. And I think at the end of the day, you know what? When regular people out on the street, at the skate park, at clubs and bars, disagree with these fringe wackos on Twitter, I think we're doing good. I think we're doing all right. Unfortunately, this results in a lot of people now believing they're really conservative when they're actually liberals. The problem is what's called liberal today is representative of these weird Twitter mobs and people like Ocasio-Cortez. It's not. So they'll try to call me right-wing because they want to they want to shift the Overton window. I have to be right-wing, so that way anyone to the right of me is far right. But that's absurd. 63 million people in this country voted for Donald Trump, and I would not even be right-wing enough to ever do that. And a lot of people say, when will Tim finally... I'm not going to vote for the guy. I'm pro-choice. It's a very important position for me. I am anti-death penalty, anti-war. I think private prisons should be ended. But I believe in liberty and free speech. And there is no political home for me. So there you have it. I don't know how we got onto a political rant again, in a story about AOC. But there it is. They say, Pelosi also mocked Ocasio-Cortez in an interview with CBS 60 Minutes in April while dismissing the far left wing of the party. So, I want to make sure, I want to keep this one short. I love how there are some media critics claiming that people like me try as hard as we can to get to 10 minutes, but I hope you all realize all of my videos are a desperate attempt to stop talking. It's really funny when there was one tweet about a video I made and some left-wing person said, how could Tim Pool talk about himself for a half an hour? And I'm like, oh man, that's me restraining myself, okay? I got too much going on. And so I'm going to try and stop this around 10 minutes because I have to get to the White House. But, the last thing I'll mention, Pelosi they showed several examples of Pelosi slamming Ocasio-Cortez. I'm not going to read through all of them again. I'm going to keep this one short. And I think as much as I have a disdain for these corporate millionaire Democrats, there is something to be said for what Nancy Pelosi is doing in regards to AOC. But lastly, what do I see? Multi-millionaire elite corporatist Democrats and far-left fringe identitarian weirdos. And who do I vote for? Republican, who's pro-choice? Nah, that's not. I'm sorry, that's pro-life. And a lot of other issues, economic issues, it's not really where I'm at politically. So I vote for no one. That's the truth. Nobody. We'll see what happens. I like Tulsi and I like Yang. But we'll see what happens. Thanks for hanging out. Stick around. More videos to come. And I should have an update after the summit. I don't know when. This is filmed way early, by the way. I filmed everything super quick. And it's actually pretty hard for me to do. But I've been working really hard. I will see you all tomorrow at 10 a.m. on this channel. Unless, of course, some big news happens with the summit. Thanks for hanging out. I will see you next time.